Uh-huh. So that's an average day for you then?
No doubt.
You chop and die.
Hell yeah.
Which role do you think has the most toxic player base? If you answered anything other than ADC, it's because you're an ADC main. I have never seen a more entitled group of legitimate psychopaths than your average ADC player. It defies logic how quickly they go from quietly playing to typing out their manifesto, all over some of the most inconsequential shit I've ever heard. You know how many support games I've played where my ADC flamed me for not literally body blocking every single skill shot because their brains couldn't fathom the concept of moving out of the goddamn way? 2, which isn't a lot, but yada yada yada. Even if you're playing an enchanter, they expect you to be a meat shield, because every second you're not sacrificing yourself to cover their piss-poor positioning is a second you're playing the game wrong. Swear to God, somebody told these ADC mains that supports don't give bounty gold when they die, and nobody corrected them. That is the only explanation I can come up with for why they get more upset when you don't unalive yourself to secure them a kill than if you traded 1 for 1. Of all the times I've had a teammate refuse to play and rage split all game, the overwhelming majority of them were either the ADC who had one thing go wrong early, or the support who got tired of getting flamed for that one thing that went wrong early. If they somehow haven't had their mental boom by the time team fights start, then they'll spread their trauma onto the other players for not constantly peeling them like the vegetables they are. And don't even get me started on the ADCs who claim dibs on every minion in jungle camp because they're apparently the only ones who need gold or XP. Can you tell I've had a lot of toxic ADCs lately? Because I've had a lot of toxic ADCs lately, but there's no getting rid of them. Why? Because the only thing worse than suffering through a game with an ADC with a terminal case of main character syndrome is playing ADC.
You killed my mother!
Sucks to be you.
Bot is the most monotonous role in the game. Every other role has at least 2 or 3 character classes to pick from, but bot lane only has one, marksman. That's what Riot wants you to call ADCs, but ADC is much more fitting. ADC. Addict. A dick. You're a dick. I'm funny. Worse still, marksman has the smallest champion pool of any character class, and some of them never even get played in bot lane. And their items, my god! Do you want this item that deals more damage to tanks? Or do you want this item that deals more damage to tanks? Or maybe, just to spice things up, you could take this item that does more damage to tanks. No, I want an item that keeps the enemy carries from farming me every time I leave base that won't get co-opted by bruisers. Mages get invulnerability, spell shields, and HP on every fucking item. But what do ADCs get? Lifesteal? Yeah, I really felt the healing from those 2 autos I managed to get in before the assassin looked at me funny and I died. Mobility doesn't cut it either, when any top laner with Ghost can outrun your Flash, Heal, Gale Force, and whatever sad excuse for a mobility spell you may have. That leaves you with little recourse except to rely on your teammates to cover for you. Unfortunately, this is solo queue we're talking about. Your teammates probably think hard CC has something to do with subtitles. In half the games where I get filled to ADC, my top laner seems to think it looks so fun that they want to try it for themselves. Even if they do pick a tank or a bruiser, they're split pushing all game because they'd secretly rather be playing Tekken but can't figure out all the button combos. Meanwhile, your lane gets regular visits from the enemy jungler and mid laner no matter how far up your tower's ass you are, while your mid is somehow still down at CS and your jungler is busy patting themselves on the back for burning enemy top Flash to care. Even your support stops pretending to give a fuck about your post-lane phase because you're 1 in 3 with half a mythic item and they'd rather farm free assists from teammates who didn't need help in the first place. If anyone on your team could just rub their 2 brain cells together long enough to form a synapse, they'd realize you'd be more useful than a canyon minion if they would just fucking peel for you! You suffer game after game of this until you start to see the signs early on that the same thing is going to happen again. So you might as well throw the game now rather than sit through 30 more minutes of Sisyphean torture. I finally realize now that the players aren't to blame. It's the role that makes you insane. So to all my ADC mains out there, let me just say,
I get it.
Still gotta report you though. Unfortunately, League is like a gangbang. Someone's gotta bottom. And for those situations where you draw the short straw and get filled, no pun intended, to ADC, I have found a solution. A champion to be your salvation, the shining light in your hour of darkness. The guy whose name is in the title of the video.
Don't worry, Red. We can be like a thing in non-canon stuff.
For every downfall of playing ADC, Varus has the answer. For example, tired of the same old crit items every game? Well, variety is the spice of life, and Varus is the whole goddamn rack. On-hit Varus has the same DPS playstyle as a crit build with arguably cheaper items, plus hybrid damage and some much needed defensive options. Lethality turns you into a poke mage with enough range to steer clear of all the scary people while still being able to deal damage. You can even build AP and be a burst mage with all the utility and tankiness that other ADCs can only dream of. He even has built-in grievous wounds and percent health damage. So you can throw a dart at a list of items and build whatever it hits while still fulfilling your role of neutralizing tanks. But the creme de la creme of Varus has to be his ultimate. Most other ADCs can only resign themselves to a black and white screen when they get dived on. But not Varus. Varus can root the bitch long enough to either get the hell out of dodge or charge up his Q and pop him like a balloon with those blight stacks. You could have a whole team of stink meaners and it won't matter because you've got self-peel. It's like my granny used to say, that wasn't really relevant. Don't know why I brought that up, sorry. Do other ADCs have flexible builds? Yes. Do other ADCs have crowd control they can use to save themselves? Absolutely. But Varus is the only ADC who has the whole package, and I highly recommend him for any bot laners looking to keep the voices at bay in solo queue. But if anyone tries to move him to mid lane again, I will find you.